Welcome back to Global Morning on Global Television. Right now, we'll be talking about the fixing of the Nigerian educational system and the need to drive sector-wide reforms even in the sector. And joining me in this conversation is Chukwuemeka Goswill, who is the founder and CEO of Bold Scholar Research here in Abuja. You're welcome to Global Morning. All right, so let's delve into the conversation. First, education is a critical priority for Nigeria, as for many serious nations, for their growth and their development. But unfortunately, in the past 10 years, we've not really seen any dramatic improvement in Nigerian educational system. There's need to address the educational systems right now, even in Nigeria. But let's start from first looking at your take on the Nigerian educational system, where we are right now. What do you make of the Nigerian educational system first?
Well, the Nigerian educational system has gone through a lot of tears and wears. We have a country that doesn't pay much attention to the education sector. However, there has been a dramatic change in the present administration, where for the first time they've allotted up to 7.9%, the budget to the education sector. It's groundbreaking because the nation hasn't seen it like this before. So, but then the issue is not just about allotting a lot of money, allocating a huge sum of money to the education sector. The issue is the money allocated to the sector, how do they use it? So we've had system where people do not use the fund allocated to the unit, to the sector judiciously. So that has really affected the outputs, and the sector, that particular sector has really suffered, and it's really a terrible thing. So there's so much that is ongoing now, which we believe the present administration would look into it. We know the West, the western part of this country has interest in education, and if you look at those that have really produced a lot of scholars in this present nation, I think the Southwest has really done much. So it's not shocking that the present administration, is looking into that. So, but that sector has really performed poorly.
Interesting. Yeah. So let's talk in terms of young people and education in Nigeria. Of recent, we've been sending wrong signals across to international communities, where we see majority of Nigerian young persons coming out to say education is a scam. First, and this has formed the narrative of young people conversation. But how correct is this?
Well, that particular narrative is driven by the things the young people see around them. We have a society where people that didn't do well in education are really thriving, and then academically they didn't perform well, but then they are doing very well, financially. There are two things that bring this. One is a particular part of this nation, the Southeast, for instance. We have this system. The Southeast has this system where someone can groom an apprentice. The apprentice didn't go to school. He finishes his apprenticeship and then starts doing something, and he thrives. Then he probably has a sibling who has gone to the university, even become a professor, and he's not doing very well in the education. And then we have other set of people that also go into crime, and this crime is not checked. And then you see them performing, financially well, as people can say it, people really work by sight. So when young people see things like this, where someone didn't go to school and is doing very well, financially, then someone is into crime and is doing very well financially, and nobody's checking the criminal, they would you won't blame them when they say education is a scam. So, but then anybody that says education is a scam, doesn't really understand what education is all about. Education is not for you to understand just the theoretical part. What education does for you is to help you to think. That is the essence of education. Education makes you to reason, to question things, to question norms. And when you question norms, you come up with solution to your question. So that is why even in the university where you write thesis, you're meant to provide your question. What does your research, what answer, what question does what's the problem? What problem is your research trying to solve? So there's always this question, and then the next thing would be, what solution are you bringing to that question? So you check the way project thesis is structured. Is actually meant to tell you how you're meant to live when you pass through the education system. You see problems, you look at them, and then you come up with solutions. You understand? So the thesis is like a stereotype. It's like a sample of what the life after education should look like. So there's always the question and there's always a solution. So when you write your thesis and you provide the problem statements and you don't provide solution to that problem statement, you have written nothing. So the same applies to real life. When you see things, you should come up with problem. What are you seeing? What problem are you looking at? And then you should also provide solution to that. So when people go through education system and they don't understand how this works, so they come out, they're looking for job, that's the only thing they understand, and if the job is not coming, they are idle. So they are not seeing problems around them. And when they see, you see so many people on the social media, what they do is to point out problems. Every day we hear billions of problems being pointed out. The question is, how many persons out of those that are pointing out the problems, how many persons are providing solution? So, and the major thing, the progress in your education career, or putting to use the education, the things you have acquired, in the knowledge you have acquired in the education, in your studies, in your learning, where it comes to use is when you start providing solutions. You understand? Yeah. So the same applies to the thesis you write. You write your thesis and you don't provide answers to the problem statement you have stated in that thesis. You have written nothing. So it applies to life. You state problems, you come up with solutions. So people say education is scam because they do not come up with solutions to the problems they see around them. So like I said, the essence of education is to help you provide solutions. So that is how these things work.
All right, thank you so much for that feedback. Between the age of 5 to 14, based on my statistic, out of school children in Nigeria right now has hit a reference toll of about 10.5 million children. And what we literally see cases in Nigeria, according to World Bank data, stands at 65.1%. With all of this data, are we ready to improve on our educational systems in Nigeria?
Well, the thing about Nigeria is, well, first of all, we don't even keep data. Then when we get the data that is railed out by international bodies, we still don't make good use of them. We only get to quote them without using the data. There's one part which is getting the data, the other part is making good use of the data. All right, so it is very heartbreaking to see the number of out-of-school children. Now the question is, what is this nation doing to combat the problem? So that is the issue. So if we look at the problem, it's very humongous. that statistics is very embarrassing and should embarrass any nation. But the problem is, what are we actually doing? We would be happy if the nation, if the country, especially the Ministry of Education under this administration, under the distinguished Alausa, Dr. Alausa, Tunji Alausa, if he can look at these statistics and then come up with ideas on how to solve, to combat this problem. And part of what I think the nation should be looking at is trying to encourage the private sector, the people that are providing, building private institutions, coming up with how they can really police them and then help them to enlarge what they have. And then also the government itself should be building more schools, or at least enlarging the capacity of the ones they have. And for places like the north, where you have people in the rural areas where the education is almost like a crime, they should find a way to take education to those people and then reach out and come up with schemes that will really pull these people out of where they are. So that statistics is embarrassing. So, but like I said, we'll always point out the problem. The major solution is in pointing out the solution.
All right, so let's talk about the literacy rate right now,
Okay.
which is starting at about 65.1%. Of course, the number of Nigerians that don't read right now is also worrisome, because if we have 68.1% of a literacy rate right now, according to World Bank data, it's worrisome. But then it seems as though there is something affecting even younger people. We find a situation where a lot of young people don't want to read. That's why I asked you that question first: is education a scam? Then looking at this figure, can we say at this point that it is due to the fact that our educational system and the mode of studies is not that lucrative, or the learning curve or learning method is not that fascinating and interesting? That's why a lot of young people don't read in the country, because this literacy rate is really worrisome. But what's your take on young people that don't even want to read in this time?
Well, it's we have to understand the trend of things. We have to understand the trend of things. The trend of things determine the outputs in certain, areas of people's life. If you are into journalism, for instance, if you do not have social media presence, you would not pay for much. There's about over 3 billion people there now. So if you're looking at running the media organization the conventional way, the old way, you're going to have a problem. So part of what the nation should look into is the current trend. There is what we call the education technology. The education technology has come in, and most people are currently facing, or always, daily, per minute, per second actually, looking at their screen. So if you focus on getting people, the young people in this present age, to read the conventional papers, we're going to really lose out on the number of persons we should be bringing to read. So part of what I think we should be looking at is introducing technology, the education technology, to improve reading culture. And this is part of what we've looked at. We've looked at the trend, both scholar, we've looked at the trend, and we've seen that a lot of people are looking at the screen. So how do we take this book to the screen where they can read the book? So on the screen, a reader is capable of carrying billions of books at once. But on the paper, you can only carry highest, maybe you can carry like 2 books at once and be moving around. Except you have a bag, you put it in a bag, it's going to weigh you down, as a matter of fact. And if you have the paper, before you, after a while, heat might affect it, have wears and tears and the rest. And then the feel of paper is wonderful, it's very good. But then we should look at how to bring the books to where the people's face are. You understand? The faces of the people, where are they facing? We should look at how to take the book to that place. So that is part of what Bold Scholar has come to solve. And I think the nation should look into that as well. You know, taking paper to the digital platform. And I like what Tech Fund is doing now, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. They started doing this long time ago. And that part of what they're doing is they have compelled, they have, you know, they are actually digitizing, helping the institutions to digitize what they do, the resources. And then they provide e-books, they provide e-libraries, they provide funding. As a matter of fact, Tech Fund is really trying. It's one sector that has done very well. But then the MUC has made it compulsory for universities to have digital libraries where students can read. It's not just the books. The digital library has the capacity of containing millions of books. So the people are not reading, but the best way to bring them to read is to take the book where they are facing, where they are looking into, and put the book there. The kids should learn to study online. They should learn to study to read digital books. So if we do that, I believe the literacy is going to increase.
But then Chukwuemeka, I'm wondering, are we walking in a reversal in the country? Because we learned through the manuals, we learn from the manuals, we learn through the books. And the Western world that introduced technology, of course, they have not thrown the books away. They are still with the books.
I'm not an apostle of throwing the way the books. Please. Now, what I mean is take the book to where the people can see it. You understand? A lot we have seen the trend. The trend is that people are looking at the screen. If you're trying to compare them to go to the library, you know, we've seen it's like trying to drag the horse to the pool. You can take the horse to the river, but forcing the horse to drink is a problem. You understand that? So now you can force a child go to the library, stay in the library. You take him to the library, he is there. If he has a screen with him, he will spend. If he has an hour, he will spend 40 minutes on the screen. You understand what I'm saying? So now the book is the major thing. Now what I'm presenting is, what I'm actually trying to say is, let the book be taken to where the young people can see the book. The books are in the library. Even in the West, they read, but of course they are the ones that have even introduced the digital book.
As the e-book, you mean?
That's the e-book. The e-book. Now you see, Amazon has done a lot, and the same thing is what Bold Scholar has brought to Nigeria. In the West, you see, they have taken the book there, and authors who write these books, over there in the West, they make so much money on digital platforms. As a matter of fact, as at last month, Amazon paid authors over $50-something million monthly. Monthly, I'm not talking about yearly. And their authors are happy to write. Now, in Nigeria, our people are writing the hard copy. When they take it there, people don't read. So they are discouraged. So that is why even Bold Scholar, we have brought a similar solution that Amazon has, so that the author can be encouraged to write. When he drops his book on Bold Scholar, he earns huge amount of money. So when the author earns from his book, he sees that people are reading his book, he's earning resources from there, he will be encouraged to read. An author writing without someone reading is like a woman cooking without anybody eating the food. So
the woman will be discouraged, as a matter of fact, to cook again. That if you finish cooking and then nobody eats the morning, the night, then the next day you will be discouraged to cook again. You understand? So the same happens to the country. So it's not just the book, the readers, the authors too are discouraged to write. There are so many authors that have written books. You see the issue of piracy. An author writes a book, JAM recommends it. He's told that his book has been recommended for JAM, and then he goes ahead and prints about 1,000 or 5,000 or 100,000 copies, and then he takes the book while 1,000, 10,000 copies are piled up in his house. About 1 million copies have been sold out elsewhere. What happened? He didn't print 1 million. He printed 10,000. What happened? Someone there in Onitsha main market, in Kano or in Lagos, has taken his book, pirated it, and sold it to people. Are you getting the issue now? So next time he'll be discouraged to write good book, and the author, the reader, will not find something to read, something reasonable to read. You understand that? So the issue is not just the reader, it's also the author. Is affecting the authors themselves. So now what the West has learned to do is to digitize this, so that the author does not just reach out to people within his circle, he reaches out to the global community. That is what digital book does. So he earns so much and he's happy, he's very eager to write again. Good book, because the stress, financial stress, has been lifted from his shoulder. So the reader also, who is somewhere in one village, can now, through the digital means, see what someone in the United States has written. And the same applies to someone in Nigeria. Someone in the United States can see what he has written. So you see the thing now. So the issue of literacy is this: people should be encouraged first, and there should be issue of visibility of what to be read.
So in what you're saying, will this further expand the illiteracy rate in the country, knowing fully well that a lot of people in remote communities don't even have access to reading materials? Now, when we talk of digital, we'll go digital, and we should move away from the book and put our eyes and make the people to focus on where the books are, which you said it's digital and e-platform. But won't this broaden the gap of marginalization in terms of education in this regard?
Well, the issue of marginalization, I don't think that applies to education.
Okay, so what I mean by that is broadening the gap of people that are able to afford digital gadgets, and those that will be able to afford digital gadgets. People in remote community would not share in your optimism as it stands right now when it comes to the digital world. But in this regard, how can we ensure that we have a balance in this regard?
Yeah, the balance will be there if the two are, put to good use. The issue of digital library has really made the government to understand that they can actually provide millions of books for readers.
Well, how many people go to digital library?
No, wait, I'm coming.
All right, please.
Now, if the government, can make sure that, especially in the universities or those in the urban areas, can have access to e-books. Now, the National Library should be looking at setting up digital libraries here and there. And the same, let me still refer back to Bo Scholar. Bo Scholar partners with the National Library to provide this solution. And as it is now, people can go to the site and read. You can go very soon. The National Library is going to open up a place where you can go and then you sit before a computer, you access books. But then if the digital book is provided for some certain persons, the government will have enough fund to provide hard copy books to those in the rural areas that don't have access to digital gadgets. You understand? Because fund is also part of the things that will affect access to the resources. Funding. So from the humongous amount of money that has been about 7.9% of the 28 trillion that was released in this particular budget 2024. So if that money, as huge as it is, that 7.9% that is allocated to education is set towards getting books, filling the library, then getting e-books, filling, e-centers, e-libraries, people will have access to books. But what is happening now is that so many places don't have access to even the digital books. And an e-library is a system where you can access these things on the go. So it's not just about visiting a library to have access to these books. You can actually have access to the books on the go. You understand? So that's how it should work. So those in the rural areas, the government should send hard copy books to them. But schools in the urban areas, there should be digital libraries provided for them to access contents. And digital space has unlimited access. Unlimited. There are platforms that have over 13 million. There's one I know that has over 13 million resources.
Well, so you are recommending more of digital libraries across the country, knowing fully well that we still have epileptic power supply in the country. In most major libraries across the country don't even have powers, electricity to deal with, and you're recommending digital library. Are you sure we're ready for that conversation?
Yes, we are. We are. Even though there's no light, people still are on their phone almost 24 hours. The only time they are not on their phone is when they are asleep. Some people wake up in the night and even the first thing they touch is their phone. The e-library is not a center. It's not like a particular building. That is why it is E. Are you getting it? So the e-library is online. So everyone that has a phone should be able to access it using his own personal gadget with password provided. You understand? So that is how it works. So, we have this system where people think, when you go, you say, where is your e-library? You go to universities, they say, where is your e-library? They'll go and show you one building. No, the e-library is not a building. The e-library is an online, is a domain name, okay, that houses contents, resources. So an e-library is complete when it has a domain that people can go visit, a website. That's what I mean by domain. They visit the website, type in certain code, put in some access, and then it opens. They can download book, they can read the book. So the e-library should be provided, even though there is no light. Because if you make it a building, there might be it might still fall into the same problem of epileptic power issue, even lack of data. What do you call it? Internet. You might go to the place and tell you, there's failure of internet today. No, we cannot access the library, or there's no light today for you to access. It should be something that people open their phone, they access anywhere they are. So that is why I said the federal government should look into that, and the National Library has actually come up with that. And that is why they have partnered with Bold Scholar to provide every book. Like now, if you write a book now and you submit, there's what we call, the National Library calls legal deposits. If you got your ISBN from the National Library, you are mandated by the National Library Act to submit a copy of that book to the National Library so that people can read the book. It's a good thing they're doing. So now the e-copy is deposited on Bold Scholar for you to access. So the federal government is already moving in that direction. But what I'm saying is this: they should look into it and have it as a big project they should see and access.
Mr. Chukwemeka Godswill, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. Of course, we can't exhaust this conversation here right now. We have to bring you back again to talk more on this digital library and some of the advancement and development, even innovation that is going on in that sector. But I want to say thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go for a short break right now. When we come back, we'll still talk more on Global Morning. Please stay with us.